To you from my autobiography, I Count My Life by Sabbaths, Part 2, My Childhood, Chapter 6, Back to the Rumors on English. For the most part, there was a blur of men and women moving in and out. I could hear the front door creaking open and closing, the footsteps going up and down. The floors above our heads also creaked as our roomers moved about. Dick Rozier was a first-rate single guy who was always prompt with his rent. I never knew what he did, but occasionally on holidays he would join my family for dinner and pose for movie pictures. My father loved getting out his camera and blinding everyone with that light bar on which the camera was perched. Another very tall gentleman who seemed to be a friend of Dick's and rented an adjoining room came home one night with a scary tale. It was winter and there was a lot of snow on the ground, and someone attempted to rob him at knife point. Fortunately, he was able to flee unharmed, but I remember him relating how he called his father, and they went back to measure the distance between his footprints as he was running for his life. They were very far apart, something like 9 and 10 feet. I just recall the hushed awe in our home as he retold the story. Ivy Spillman, however, took the cake. By this time, my father was charged with overseeing a small nucleus of people gathering in Greenwood, Indiana. In those days with narrow streets, my father followed the old interurban route down Madison Avenue through Homecroft and Southport. He and Mom held midweek meetings in the homes of James and Virginia Guffey, as well as attended various social functions which they never took us children to. We were left in the care of Ivy Spillman, who always began to serve as our housekeeper on top of babysitting for my sisters and me. For this, she received a reduction in her rent. Ivy Spillman was a tall lady with a protruding belly above which she tied the wrap straps of her dress just beneath her sagging breasts. She wore her graying hair back in a small bun on her neck, and she often left her teeth out, leaving a protruding pooch to her lips. She was a very nervous woman, and her hands shook constantly. I recall she often had to apologize for dropping and breaking my mother's knickknacks while she dusted and cleaned our apartment. One of the more memorable incidents relating to this was her giving my sisters their baths. Mother's Persian blood translated into her beautiful dark olive skin tone, and both my sisters had the same. I, on the other hand, inherited my father's light white German coloration. One night, Ivy Spillman scrubbed my sisters until they were crying. When Mom came home, Ivy complained to her that she couldn't get the dirt off my sisters' arms. Mom gasped and started laughing. She said to her, "Ivy, that dirt will never come off because my daughters just have dark olive skin." Before Laura Studer came along, a beautiful woman named Loretta Hoke rented the front room. Loretta had moved to Indianapolis to take up a position in the grade school at my uncle's church, known as Calvary Christian School, or CCS. After kindergarten, I attended CCS grades 1 through 4, 7 and 8. For grades 5 and 6, I attended Greenwood Elementary because I was 10 years old and my father had moved us to 201 Pleasant Lane in Greenwood. But while we were still at English Avenue, I developed a crush on my 4th grade school teacher, Loretta Hoke. She wore her dark black hair back in a bun, and she had a great figure. During that year, I was stricken with German measles and became precariously ill. I still remember the weird sensations when my temperature would skyrocket. My hearing was also impacted. Mom and Dad noticed I could not hear the church bells from Sacred Heart. I was so sick, my mother moved me to a pallet in the living room right outside her bedroom so she could monitor me more closely and tend to my needs. During that foggy mental period, Loretta came and visited me. I will never forget her kindly smiling face as she sat down next to me. She ran her hand over my face and her fingers through my hair, comforting me with her sweet, smoothing voice. I truly wanted to get better so I could go back to her class. Sometime later, she met a nice gentleman and became Mrs. Loretta Smith. I felt a twinge of jealousy. Chapter 7. The Alley. My little bedroom in the back stoop at 953 English Avenue, Indianapolis, could be a terrifying as well as a gratifying place sometimes. That is where I slept from the time I was 4 until I was 10. Some of the terrifying moments were when my parents would leave us with Ivy Spillman, and she would worry out loud about a Russian atomic attack on the United States, scaring the living daylights out of me. I became fearful of the furnace register in my room because I thought fallout from those atomic bombs was going to creep up through it and kill me. And then there were the derelicts that wandered through the deeply rutted alley behind our home. They would stagger down the alley between Jay's Bar and another tavern over near the intersection of Shelby and Fletcher. I would see these mirages of dark, grisly men go by. They were terrifying. Occasionally one would pause, look at me, place his finger up against one nostril, and blow a long, creepy, slimy string of snot out of his head onto the bricks. I always worried that these boogeymen would come and snatch me away. One night as I was sleeping, I was awakened by a fierce thunderstorm. Lightning was flashing, thunder was crashing, and just outside the window and back door of my bedroom stood the shadow of one of these derelicts taking shelter beneath the eaves of the roof. As he swayed back and forth, waiting for the rainstorm to pass, I shook with terror. I didn't dare let out a peep. I tried to disappear beneath my blanket, squeezing my eyes tight, hoping he wouldn't see me. He left apparently when the storm subsided. That was a night of terror I will never forget. The gratifying moments in that bedroom centered on my discovery of erections. I had no idea what these were, but I soon learned that if I would hump my pillow, something wonderful would happen. It wasn't long before I became addicted to this feeling, and some nights I enjoyed it more than once. Now this must be seen against the contrast of the powerful Victorian atmosphere that pervaded our home. Sex was sin, so I began to have qualms of guilt, especially since my mother checked on me one night after hearing the bed squeaking. She asked me what I was doing, and I fumbled for a lame excuse that I'm sure she saw right through. She never scolded me, but I'm sure she told my father. I hope you'll tune in for the next episode.